Hello and welcome to this review on the Porsche 992.2 Cup car new to iRacing for 2026 Season 1. My name is William Chadwick, Porsche Esports Super Cup driver in 2025, and I will be taking you through this new 992.2 Cup car and giving you my first thoughts and impressions on the car and whether you should buy it if you don't already own the Cup car, or I think maybe you also can get it for free if you owned the Cup car before. I have. I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone. So I'll take you through. You're going to watch my first impressions of driving the car, and I'll give you some pointers on what I think's different and how it is as an update to the overall car and class. So here she is. We can see her in 3D glory, I guess you could say. Visually quite different. We saw this from release trailers and stuff, but you can see the louvres, the front of the car, just visually quite different. And obviously the big update with this car is we now get ABS and we get the TC features that the real car always kind of had. I believe we're going to get some dive planes as well when we take it to the Nordschleife, or maybe that's a selectable option in the setup files. Now, quite nice base livery. Maybe we'll run this one for the time being. Yeah, first thoughts. Obviously, I mean, everyone's kind of seen the car already. It looks like an upgrade, and what we're going to do is we're going to take it to Spa. Obviously, Spa is a very well-known circuit. And I've loaded up the conditions that we last had an official week on with this car, so this maybe gives you an idea on pace. I'm certainly not going to be amazing straight away, but I'll give it a good go to be as fast as I can. And this is the settings that we had last time the 992.1 went to Spa in an official week, so we can kind of vary on how much faster the car has got. So you join me here in the simulator. The last time we had the 992.1 here, we were just doing 2-minute 20s, or maybe breaking into the 2-minute 19s in these conditions. That was a very good lap time for that car. I'm going to take a look in the garage, take a look at what's new. I can certainly tell you that. So wet tyres, obviously, as per usual, we expected that. We've got the brake pad. That's going to be quite critical, actually. So quite a lot of options on front brake pads. This is something we never had before. This is how it is standard. They say they're the delivery pads and they're the endurance pads, but you can select those quite a lot. TC, we've got it in dry mode. I don't see a way of switching that off. Maybe that's always on. Maybe just, I guess, 0, I guess, would be off. And then ABS also a 0 would be, yes, off. But we've got quite a few settings, so 11, 12 in those. Throttle shapes, something I don't think the Cup car's ever had before, but now you've got 2 throttle shapes. I would always go for a linear shape, but I guess judging by those settings, there is no linear shape, so we'll leave it on default. Brake bias, maximum of 57, minimum of, let's see, so a bit higher than the old car. The old car we used to run, as low as 37.8. So something to take into note. Obviously, with ABS, we're not having to worry about locking up the same way. Front ride height is default is 72. That is the minimum, which is, I think, lower maybe. And the rear ride height, as things stand, we can go. Let's see how high we can go. Just out of interest, the old car was about 126, I believe. So let's have a look where we stand on this front. Same. So same parameters for ride height. Maybe actually same for the front as well. Actually. So I'll just kind of run it how I would usually, just based off the old car, and reset our cambers. I'll go back to maximum at the rear with minimum tow. Good to see that we've not got the tow limitations that we had in the GT3. Difference. Oh, you can choose different rear pads as well. That's interesting. And then ARBs 1 to set 0, so we can disconnect. Yeah, so that's the first time for the Cup car. Couldn't disconnect it before. Wings as low as -1, as high as 13. That's a bigger range than we had in the older car. 8's quite low as it is, so we'll leave it with that for now. Maybe 9. Always good to read the iRacing notes. Here we have some interesting notes on the LEDs and the shift lights. Some launch procedures, so it's always good to go and read this to get an understanding for the car. Can give you some ideas on aerodynamic balance as well, and what to be expecting from your aerodynamics. here is something that I always think is important to highlight. They tell you the range of the bars, which isn't as self-explanatory as you think. 6 is the stiffest at the rear, 6 is the stiffest at the front, whereas 7 is the 5th stiffest, even though it wouldn't necessarily look to be that way. So that's the exact same as the old car. So nothing new there, but interesting to look at and good to see in the notes. So yeah, 2.6 bar, that's quite aggressive with, I would say, quite a low wing, judging by that range, even at 9. So let's try this and see how she is on track. We're in the car. I've instantly noticed it has some kind of soft limiter or launch profile, which is quite interesting, to say the least. But yeah, we'll give it a go and we'll see how it is. Obviously, my first time driving the car. Oh, interesting. So it's going to be a lot easier to launch the car now, I assume. Let's see how she drives. I'd always drive the old Cup car on 8. I wouldn't take too many cues from how the audio sounds on my end because I have custom audio in iRacing, which turns up the audio of other things a little bit. Very compliant for a first time up Eau Rouge. You know, if you did that in a GT3, I think you'd spin. It sounds a little bit more muted, would be my first impression, but I am on a different headset than I normally use. Straight into the brakes just to see what it's like. Generally feels quite soft. I mean, the Cup car generally has always been quite soft. Still a touch of understeer. Off cold tyres, it's pretty easy to drive. You know, a lot of the more recent cars in iRacing have been quite difficult off cold tyres. My initial feeling in this car is that it's quite easy, actually. I would have expected to have more issues. Anyone that's been driving LMDHs, absolutely. But also stuff like the new GT3 model, it's been super, super easy to lose it on cold tyres. Obviously dependent on how you got the car set up. If it's low downforce, it becomes a lot harder. A lot easier, sorry. And high downforce, it's a little bit easier to deal with it. But yeah, first impressions is it's quite easy to pick up. I always remember the old Cup car had quite a lot of understeer on cold tyres. Certainly feels like I've got quite a lot of understeer here to start. A big snap there through the bump. But generally feels quite easy to drive. I probably wouldn't smash it into the ABS like you saw me do initially, but certainly didn't feel that bad to do so. Probably, you know, you'll see me and eat my words when I start braking like an old Cup car. Quite a lot of downforce through there. Don't know why I'm smashing it into the ABS so hard. Maybe I've turned into an ACC driver overnight. I'm actually starting to question whether my pedal is the right setting. I do have a, I know why I'm smashing it into the ABS. Bear with, I will just reset my pedal. So we're back. Set a quick active reset to stop myself from losing any of the tyre temperature. I've corrected my pedal now. I was running about 30 kilos less than I normally would be on iRacing, which maybe suggests why it looks like I'm hitting it really hard. General feeling, initially, car feels very similar, if not a little bit closer to a GT3. Obviously, the huge change with this car is that we now get the ABS and the TC, and this makes this car, I'll be honest, dramatically easier to drive. I would say that the front end itself is maybe a little bit more positive on initial turning off the brake. Something that you always got in the old Cup car was it was always quite lazy a little bit, but generally my feeling on how it's turning through these corners is quite good. Apologies. Just getting to speed with how she feels. Yeah, generally this is my initial feeling. Still quite understeery, but I mean this is to be expected. Be interesting to see what the car's like with the dive plane package, but I believe you only get that at the Nordschleife. Might also turn the assists off and see how it drives in a little moment. Yeah, yeah, hard for me to truly give an opinion on how it drives. I've obviously upped the rake massively since getting into the car, and also we're quite low on wing for that level of rake. So trying to think back to how the old car would drive in this sort of scenario, I'm not really that surprised that, wow, okay, that was bad, that we're turning, to be honest. Generally, I do feel like it is pretty similar. We're going to get a read this lap on what our initial lap time is. Which will be good. If I'm honest, it feels a little bit softer. Just the way that it's turning through a corner, if you've noticed, the front kind of bounces a little bit more, maybe. Potentially a change to damping. I didn't actually check if there was any adjustments you could make to damping. See the nose go light there, up Eau Rouge. Yeah, interesting for me to kind of drive this for the first time. Certainly an interesting experience after I've drove the 992.1 so much over the years on iRacing. Yeah, just when you initially raise over those curbs, you see how the front kind of hangs in midair a little bit. Holy, oh my god, it's so much faster. I don't know if you see the optimal, but oh, you don't, I think, because that's where my head is. The optimal's telling me we're doing an 18 first lap. Okay, this is a lot faster. This is going to be challenging GT3 pace in some cases at some tracks. Maybe. Depends. It's certainly going to bring the classes closer together in pace. I know that it's been an issue sometimes in multi-class when GT3s are trying to overtake the Cup cars and they're stupidly fast in a straight line. But yes, a lot faster. Probably a lot down to having the new ABS feature, the new TC feature. I can be a lot more aggressive with how I brake. I can brake a lot later in many cases because generally ABS is more efficient. But yeah, as things stand, we're going to do a 17 on our first lap. That seems quite fast to me, judging what I've seen GT3s do around here. I'm not sure what you'd get out of a GT3 in this specification of weather on iRacing. Obviously, weather is super, super important. But this isn't the quickest weather possible. You know, we're not at the lowest air temperature. I'm not sure what the track is. Let me have a look. 20 degrees track, so it's pretty cold, but 17.5. That's 2.5 seconds quicker. The car can't be surely that much faster in real life, can it? Very fast. I don't know if there's been a change to the way that maybe I've picked out Spa, and Spa's one of these tracks that's had like a grip update or something, but I mean 17.5 feels really fast for a car like this. So yeah, right, let me just turn ABS and TC off just to kind of understand how the car drives with that. I'm struggling to navigate menus. Am I stupid? Maybe. Right, ABS is off, TC is off. Maybe back a little bit on the bias because we're going to struggle. What's the dash percentage? Right, we'll go to like what we would usually run in the old car, but -5.5% is like your starting point. You can obviously go way further back than that depending on circuit. Wow, that's locking the rears way more than it would used to. Right, let's go for a more forwards bias because that was way too far back. Let's try, what's that, -175? That's still too much lock on the rear. Quite interesting to see the bias has changed so much in terms of what you would use across the generation. Still locking rears. The idea with the Cup car on the bias would be you would always drive your own personal preference of what as much rear locking as you could deal with, essentially, on corner entry. Yeah, I can't help but think like the general roll is higher, which I didn't think I'd be saying, but I mean ultimately at this stage I'm running on a much different bias than I ever was. This is 51.2 now. Generally, TC-wise, it feels fine. The Cup cars have always been pretty easy on TC. Still locking the rears quite a lot on entry there. Not struggling too much with it. Let's see what a un-ABS timed would be. I'll push it forward a little bit more. That was bad. Obviously, you can do that a lot better than what I just did. A 17.5. I'm still kind of not really understanding why we're so fast. I mean, I'm on just normal race fuel. I've got 34 litres left now. Let's try and here we brake a little bit earlier. Wasn't great. You can see how the lack of ABS really slows you down a bit. I mean, I'm not doing a very good job of driving this lap. But obviously you can do better than what I'm doing here. It's pretty obvious, pretty evident. Doesn't make her any slower in the corners though. Nice little bit of rotation through Huon. That's a front lock. I feel like I'm getting less feeling on the locking. I don't know if that would make any sense to people that have seen, but a little bit less feeling on when it's locking and maybe a little bit more sensitive. It does genuinely feel like the car hasn't been as optimized to run without these settings on. I'm sure there will be some series that mandate them off through a fixed setup or something, because this is like the traditional way a Cup has been run. I think, although I'm pretty sure in Super Cup now these days they're going to be running this car with ABS and TC, which is a bit of a shame really. I think it was nice to have it without the driver aids. You can see how probably my brake shape's changed. But yeah, I mean, this was a really sloppy lap. I mean, we're still 1.2 seconds quicker than a good lap, and I promise you that's, you know, a 17.5 is not the best lap you'll ever see of this car in this condition. I can even imagine that in a quali fuel scenario, easily 16s, which sounds really fast to me. But I'd have to check what the GT3 times have been doing. But yeah, I mean, initial feeling is the car's good. It's nice. It's probably easier, a lot easier than the old car to drive, which is a bit of a shame in my opinion, from a professional perspective. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But yeah, to me, certainly, it feels a little bit easier to drive initially. I would say that my observations on the way that it handles curbs and it being potentially a little bit softer is true, potentially. But I think more people will like this. Too deep. I think more people will like this. Let's try, considering I've completely thrown this lap. Let's try a start without TC and ABS, because you've seen that it now has this launch control function. Obviously we're downhill, so maybe not the... Oh, now I'm revving fully. Why wasn't I doing that before? Like follow and brake? Roll brake? Oh, okay. Clutch in, clutch in. Okay, so clutch needs to be in to activate the launch control. I'll just drop it. Let's try this. Oh. Fairly easy. Not too bad. I think with obviously with some TC on, and I don't really need ECS. ABS on, but very easy, isn't it? I mean, you could probably do a lot better than that still. But yeah. I think we'll take it to Miami, have a look at the new track as well, and wrap up our review. So, you join me on circuit at the beautiful Miami International Autodrome around the Hard Rock Hotel in Miami. This is my first time driving this track, I think. I think I know the layout. But we're just going to give it another look in this car. I've had a quick fiddle with the setup a little bit. So all I've done is I've upped the wing, which is what I would do for a track that's less straighty than Spa is, for example, in the old Cup car. And yeah, I had a quick look at some of the things I was commenting on in I've realised I have no idea where I'm going. Some of the things I was commenting on at Spa, such as the spring rates and stuff, and yeah, this is obviously not changeable, but I could almost be sure they've changed. I don't know where I'm going. Okay. Yeah, I thought I knew where I was going, but I really don't. But yeah, have a little go at this Miami circuit. This is something I would see them using if they were to do another Porsche Esports Super Cup on iRacing. So I could see them using this circuit. I'd say it's a very interesting modern circuit. I don't know how it drives personally, but it's certainly one of those circuits that's modern. Jeez, this straight is long. Holy moly. I expected it to end a little bit sooner when you watch an F1 car around here. We are not stopping. Yeah, I am on the right brake profile still. I think the cold tyres are showing a bit more of an effect than I expected. I think that's something I... Maybe by the increase of grip that I got at Spa, I didn't realise the lack of grip on cold tyres. Potentially could be the track surface as well. So do a little bit of warming. But yeah, this is actually quite an interesting circuit. I'm quite a fan of street circuits. I like dancing between the walls. Obviously, there's been a lot of them in F1 recently. Feels like the in trend, but it's good to see something like this on iRacing, and with some more additions of Formula 1 circuits and popular circuits around the world. You know, iRacing is coming to be one of the better sims for track support. Of course, Bahrain recently teased, I guess you could say, in the arcade game, so I'd assume that means that they have the license for iRacing and will be developing it. Still want to know where Croft is, iRacing. Still haven't seen that since it was teased. I need to understand what I'm doing. So yeah, so this is basically a flat out corner. Come around to here. Braking into like sort of a high speed left, which has a tight right. Track limits seem fine. I don't know. That is a horrible corner in a car like this. Such a long corner where you're on the front axle the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I like the car. You know, I've always liked Cup cars. It's been my main car on iRacing essentially, the 992.1 since it was released almost. And a lot of happy memories in the old car. I hope they can be transitioned into the new one. I'd say I miss the fact that it's not a wow. Yeah, the suspension's definitely different. Probably less curb compliant now. It seems to bounce a bit more. But yeah, I would certainly say that I'd like to see more involvement of turning the settings off, but as already kind of seen, the car is a bit harder to drive, I'd say, with the settings off than it used to be. It feels less optimized a little bit. Maybe that's just my initial feeling, my initial feedback. But yeah, I think for the general person, this car is way easier to pick up and just get on top of, and quite a viable option for like a C-class sort of racing. And it produces good racing, and of course you never have the issue of BOP or anything like that. So you always get a third chance theoretically, and you can always drive this car. 57. No idea how good that is. Probably people are going to do like 53s. Certainly the way it's handling curbs is different. That should be flat out. I've not learned yet. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Watching me fail to drive the Miami International Autodrome. I keep thinking I want to say Speedway because I think there's a Miami Speedway in NASCAR. It's not out. But yeah, I hope this informs whether you want to purchase it, whether you want to drive it, because like I say, I think some people might be getting this car for free, depending on when you got the Cup car, or I think maybe it's just a free upgrade in general. So yeah, let me know what you guys think and what your first impressions are of this car. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this first impressions, this review. I hope it was somewhat helpful and somewhat informative, and I hope that you can drive Miami better than I can. We'll we'll be doing a first impressions of this circuit, or second impressions, I guess you could say, a little bit later this evening. Well, if you're new to the channel, if this is the first time you've watched a HYMO Academy video, please click the subscribe button. It really helps us out. Like button, dislike if you don't like my opinions. And just let us know what you think. And join the Discord. And yeah, we'll have setups for this car available within the next 4 days, I would say, for week 1, whatever the schedule decides to be. I've not checked what that is yet. But yeah, done by Gustavo Ariel. One of the, well, probably the best Brazilian sim racer in the world. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, see ya.